this year has sucked. Oh my God, it's like 28 degrees out here. It's been cold every week since the beginning of the year. And but I am fixed to start on the Grand Cherokee. I did buy this Grand Cherokee, ultra cheap. My plan is not to make it into an off-roader, even though I would love to. If I'd have found this Jeep under any other circumstance, that's not what this is going to be. I'm trying to make this into an actual driver. The biggest issue is that previous owner apparently hit something on this side, bent a control arm mount pretty badly, and a control arm. Obviously this is a little loose. All the steering components are jacked. The tie rod's bent. But everything else is fine. It has a little bit of a lazy shift. I think I need to do a tranny flush on it. Other than that though, generally, is a very good example of a nice 97 model Grand Cherokee. But I want to get the front end steering fixed so I can align it, so I can go get new tires on it, so that we can start driving it. I've got some parts in, and that's really where we're at now. I'm going to show you all these parts, talk about them a little bit, and then we'll start putting them on. So one of the keys to building a cheap Jeep is to really look for parts. And you can't just go to the parts store and buy a part, or it's going to be retail and it's going to be expensive. There's a few things about buying cheap parts. Number one, it takes looking. You can't just go on the internet and find cheap parts. Sometimes you can, but that's not the norm. If it's regular OEM style parts, then a lot of times AutoZone or Advance will be a cheap place because you'll have coupons for those places. Advance is really good about having good online codes that you'll be able to apply and then pick up in their stores. So I buy a lot of stuff from them. Not always the highest quality, but you try to get name brands. Sometimes Napa will run specials that you have to jump on. But a lot of times Amazon warehouse deals is a very good place to find parts. I find probably 60 to 70% of my parts from there. Walmart's website has a lot of third-party vendors, not just Walmart vendors, and they will a lot of times have some of the same prices. There's a couple other websites that you just have to look for and find, of course Rock Auto and places like that, but look around and find the best deal. And I buy most of my parts on closeout deals. And or open box deals or whatever, and it winds up being really cheap. I'll give you an example. On the front of this Jeep, what we're going to do is the tie rod that's in a U shape, we're going to make that into a straight line. And just because I can tell the front end shocks are trash, we're going to go ahead and replace those. And then of course, I already showed you in a previous video the mounts for the control arm, and now I need a new control arm. So there's still 3 more things to do after these 3 parts get put in. So I got these ES3000 shocks. These are just Pro Comp shocks. These are cheap, white-bodied shocks. Same shocks that'll come on any cheap lift kit. These aren't lift shocks. These are stock height shocks. I got these for about $12.50 each at a closeout deal on a certain website. I'm not going to say all the websites I go to, but you just have to look for them. So I got 2 of these for $24 total. $25 free shipping. Number 2, you might guess where I got this one. Amazon warehouse deals. Now that's quite obviously a brand new track bar. Obviously it's not in its original packaging, but it is an OEM track bar. This is a AC Delco Greasable track bar, brand new. And I got that for $19 from Amazon warehouse deals with free shipping. On another closeout warehouse site, I got this package, also free shipping. And it is a brand new tie rod that is in straight line, not in a U shape. And that was, I don't remember how much that was. I think it was under $20. I think it was maybe $18 free shipping. I can't remember exactly, but it was around there. Let's just say 20, just to be on the safe side. So for $63, I got all this. So it is still really cold out. It's like in the 20s out here, but the sun did pop out, and so I'm gonna go ahead and do some work on the Jeep. There's no room in the garage because the Corvette's in there, but I'll just work in the driveway. We're not gonna be doing much, just working on the front end. I don't think I'm gonna have to do as much as I thought. So let's start by taking off the tires. So the tires are off, and a few things I noticed immediately. The Jeep's been sitting a long time. This is just surface rust on the brakes. That's not a big deal. But when you're really looking at it, kind of inspecting it, you can tell these are stock shocks. Those are the original shocks from back in 1997. So those things are 20 years old and 160,000 miles old. So I'm glad I'm replacing them. I do have the Jeep suspended from the axle, so I don't have to worry about compression and decompression. To take these shocks off, you simply take these two bolts out, which have a nut on the bottom, and then there's one more nut on the top where it goes through the shock tower. Some other things to note as I'm looking up under here, it's got a new steering stabilizer. This Jeep has a death wobble, that's what I'm trying to cure. The previous owner did a lot of things to try to solve it, but just didn't replace the bent-ass tie rod that caused most of it, and didn't fix the control arm mount with the blown out bushing that caused the rest of it. You can tell all the ball joints and all the tie rods have been over greased. The front end doesn't squeak at all, obviously, because of all the damn grease. But you can tell he thought that greasing all this would help, and it doesn't, because you should always have a little bit of grease up here, but you can tell that over and over they just greased and greased and greased. The ball joints seem tight. I don't anticipate any issue there. All right, 13 and 13, I believe is what those are. This upper shock tower, the bolt is way under here. Hard to get to, but if you can get it loose, turn the shock body and just hold the nut. You should do the top before the bottom generally, but in this case you want to do the bottom first so you can turn the shock. Put the new one up through there, mount it all in position, put the top nut on with the bushings, and then we'll put the bottom two on and we'll be done. And then we'll repeat the process on the other side. On these Jeeps, it's so easy. The shock job shouldn't take you more than 30-45 minutes. One thing you will notice with these basic white body shocks is a couple things. They don't have a boot. Dirt and grime can get in them if you go mudding or anything like that, but realistically the boots tend to hold in more water and dirt and grime, so it doesn't really matter if you put the boot on or not. It depends on looks. I'm not going to put the boot on. You can see this particular shock is roughly the same size. It is the same size. It's for a non-lift vehicle. I can tell you by taking these apart before, this one has a bigger piston. You can reuse your old bushings if they're in good shape, but no need if they send new bushings. Put your bushing cup on first, then your new bushing with the raised side going into the hole. Now we're going to put it up there, and then you got a new bolt, so you'll put another bushing on top, another cup, and then the bolt. Oh, one important thing that I haven't done yet. I need to put the cross piece in. First thing you want to do is make sure it's the right size. It is. And you want to get it through there. Now that's going to be a very tight fit, but these are rubber bushings and not poly, so it won't be too bad. Here's how you do it. I'm not going to videotape it, but you go get you some dishwashing liquid. Put dishwashing liquid all over it. Start it, get you a large pair of channel locks, and just work it through until it pushes through. If I did that, another way to do it would be to get it started, set it on a piece of ground, and get a rubber mallet, not a hammer, but a rubber mallet, and tap it until it taps through. And let's get her in there. Once I get it in there, I can go ahead and put a bolt or two in the bottom if I want to. We'll do the top first. I'm just going to push that all the way up in there. We'll go ahead and hand thread one bolt in the bottom here to make sure that stays located. I'm going to take my new nut, my new cup, and my other bushing up to the top. So as I showed before, that one's kind of hard to do. There's my bushing, there's my cup, and I can't reach the threads. There we go. I think I got half a thread on there. I won't bore you with me screwing this the rest of the way in. I'm going to get about 4 or 5 more turns on it to where the threads start showing. Realistically, these are much smaller bushings in diameter than the original ones. So I just want to see them start to bulge out a little bit. You don't flatten it all the way down, obviously. Now, if you don't get it tight enough, you'll start hearing clunking from the front end from these bushings getting loose and then this going up and down and clunking. You have to get it tight, but not so tight that the bushings are starting to bust or flatten out all the way. All right, we're back down here. So we'll center the shock. Put these bolts in, get both of them in and started before you tighten either one of them. I hope y'all can see this around here. When you can get to the shock tower mount, just put your ratcheting wrench on there and then just grab the top with some vice grips or a wrench that size. It is a specific size. I'm not sure what size it is. I'm going to grab it with these vice grips. Now I can hold it while I tighten it. I can make sure that this gets on there tight enough. And so you can see how it turns if I'm not holding it. Now I can make sure it gets on there tight enough. There's some thread showing. and the bushings are starting to flatten out a little bit. And there you have new shocks for the Jeep. So the shocks are done. Now it's time to tackle this tie rod. As I've shown you before, that tie rod is in a U shape and it should be straight. We're going to fix that. This whole big piece is one tie rod, and you can see the end looks a little out of spec there. You can see someone put a new steering stabilizer on to try to fix the desk wobble. That's only patches a problem. So this tie rod end hadn't come in yet, and the small tie rod end on that side hadn't come in yet either. I'm going to reuse them for the time being, just until they come in. But I'm going to go ahead and replace this so I can do a quick alignment and just see if that helps not drives any, so I can go put tires on it. There is the mount that was obviously something got hit pretty hard and bent the ever-loving hell out of that mount. You can see this bushing is toast. That's what's actually causing the desk wobble. So since the wheels are off the ground and the knuckles can move freely, I'm not going to worry about taking these tie rod ends out of where they're at. I'm just going to loosen these collars right here and over on that side, and then hopefully I can just get a big pair of pliers on that tie rod and just start turning it, and both sides will be pushed out, and just unscrew it completely from those two ends without taking the ends loose. Slightly larger than 12, smaller than 13 should be a half. Yep, I may have to get a socket. Nope. Something when you're putting the new one back on, this works like a turnbuckle, so that's right hand or left hand and right hand threads, and so you got to make sure you're screwing the right end to the right side to the right side, correct side to the correct side, or else you're going to not be able to get the thread on. You'll get frustrated and not know what's going on. So we'll thread one on, we'll start, then we'll pull over here and start the other one, and then we'll start tightening them up until the wheels are straight, and then I'll talk about aligning it. I'm not going to bore you with me screwing this in, so I'm going to jump to it already being screwed in. Alright, so these Jeeps have the exact same front suspension as my Dodge Ram. I did a video on how to align the steering wheel on the Dodge Ram. Go back and view that one for its entirety, but here's the simple side of it. This collar turns like a turnbuckle and changes the steering wheel as long as the wheels are perfectly straight. Change it right to left. So we're going to do that. We're going to eyeball everything first. The front end of a Jeep like this doesn't have many adjustments at all. It doesn't have caster or camber. Well, let me take that back. It has caster and camber, but they're a lot more difficult to adjust. So to change caster and camber on it, because this is straight front axle, the tires are always going to be tilted in the same way at the top. You can change that by moving these cam bolts right here. And you can see this is all jacked up. So this is going to be off on this side, the caster and the camber. I'm not going to be able to fix that until I put the new brackets on, so I'm not worried about that. The only true adjustment on a stock size Jeep that hasn't been messed with or wrecked is the toe. So we're going to eyeball everything and then set the toe. The toe is how close the tires are at the front to each other versus the back, measured off the same spot. So in this case, the average Jeep non-lifted needs to be about 1/8 inch narrower in the front than the rear, so toed in like this. So we're going to eyeball everything, get the steering wheel generally straight, and then we'll set the toe. Once we set the toe, everything is basically fine until I fix this, and then I'll set the caster and the camber based on that cam bolt over there, and then I'll go back and redo the toe later on. But the first thing I want to do is make it drivable so that I can go get new tires on it, go get it registered, things like that. So let me get everything eyeballed and then we'll come back to the toe here in a second. All right, you want to get the tires back on when you really start getting it dialed in, so you can get a better idea of the toe and so you can mark the tires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a silver Sharpie or a chalk mark on this tire and on that tire. It doesn't matter where, as long as I use that mark for the back measurement and the front measurement. So I'll put the mark here and over there. I'll measure between the two, and then I'll go to the back, rotate the tire to the back, and take that measurement. I want this front measurement eventually, after I get done adjusting, to be about 1/8 of an inch narrower total, not on each side, so 1/8 of an inch for total measurement less than the back. So just remember, very small movements. Right now this tire is about where I need it, and that goes to the steering. The steering wheel's about where I want it. That tire's towed out way too far, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up, pull that tire in, and then from there I should be able to start locking things down and really just messing with very small increments. All right, I've got it measured out to where it is 57 3/16 on the front between my marks. Of course, your marks are going to change depending on where you put them on the tire, so that's not a measurement to go by. It's only a measurement on this vehicle. And I've got it 57 5/16 on the back, which means the toe is set perfectly. Now I just got to make sure that the steering wheel is adjusted properly, which I believe it's pretty close, and then I'll be done, which just means getting the tires as straight as possible and moving this in small increments to adjust. Now right now they're pretty straight. As you can see, they're pretty straight. They're pretty straight. This one might be a little bit out, and the steering wheel is pretty damn straight. So guys, that's how you change the shocks and the tie rod on a Grand Cherokee. Very simple. I just took it for a spin. I didn't videotape any of it because my batteries were dying, but it did handle fine. The steering was fine. The shocks, you can see there's no bounce back like there was. The steering wheel still needs some minor adjustments, and just remember, if you're doing this yourself, I didn't videotape a lot of the small adjustments, getting up, getting down. It's easier with two people. I didn't videotape all that because it's very boring. But generally, I showed you exactly what needed to be done to basically align a Jeep and to replace those pieces. So the next step will be doing the track bar. I'll do probably one video on that because it can be a little tough. It's got a weird bolt on the backside that I need to show everyone. And then do the tranny flush. Hopefully this was educational. Hopefully you come back for some more Grand Cherokee content. Thanks guys, and have a good day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see y'all later.